yesterday. You know, it's very difficult for a team to come in. We've only had it a couple of times in the last 2 or 3 years. 3 years. It's happened twice where a team comes in and just sort of wins all the way through. You know, it's actually quite difficult to do that, especially in this sort of 20-team long format. You're over a couple of weeks. You're going to have those off days. G2 potentially had a bit of an off day yesterday, but still got a result. And that's what's in, you know, if you can time those off days sort of correctly, you know, you don't get to choose them. But if it works out that way, that you have your off day and you still kind of do all right off the back of it, and you've then got time to fix things, that can be a really big thing, and G2 might just have had that. We're going to see, obviously, over the next couple of hours whether that's true. Our bans have come in. We've got Ying, Nock, Azami and Solace. No major surprises there. The Ying probably about the most, but, you know, we're on Cafe. You've got an opportunity there to use the skylight, use the windows, use those candelas. So Ying going to go as well. Pretty standard so far.
Hot and Cold popped up in the chat saying everyone have fun except for Alamal. Just specifically hoping he has a really miserable day. And who knows, maybe they will make this game miserable for him. I think the bans that we saw coming out, just to comment on them again for a second, the Ying especially is really good against SSG. They are a team that love their executes. They're quite a lot like Dark Zero in that regard. They're considered quite an execute-heavy team. If you're taking away such a critical operator to help with those executes, brilliant. You are going to impede them somewhat. And I think with the ability to, well, if the Solus had been on side, sorry, for G2 on the defensive side, they would have caused even more trouble for the side of SSG. So here, really, with it being offline, I think SSG can breathe a little bit more, assisted somewhat by the fact that they have the Decabi on side as well. So we'll see how things shape up. SSG spotting out there is a Valkyrie with their drone works, which indeed cannot be blocked out by the Solus. They're going to switch over to an IQ to deal with Alamal's Valkyrie.
So G2, I feel, at least to begin with, need to explore basically wasting as much time. As you've said, SSG execute heavy, but very slow sometimes. They leave that to the last 15, 20 seconds, and it's a problem. It's a problem they need to fix. We have seen them, you know, be able to show us that they're capable of not doing that, but it's just doing it consistently. So I like what I'm seeing from G2. They've got the Legion, they've got the Capcan, they've got the Valkyrie, they've got those operators. They're going to burn time. You've got to find those black eye cameras. You've got to make sure that you're progressing at a pace where you're not going to run into those Capcan traps. You've got to, you know, make sure that you're clearing all that out. I'd like to see G2 get out in the map on the roam as well. Just waste as much time. Capcan traps, thank you very much. Fultz is going to go straight in and be downed by the looks of it to a Capcan trap, I would imagine. Rampage manages to pick up Doki, but if Fultz gets cleared out here, and he will do, Benja's going to pick up that kill. It leans into what I'm saying. It's going to force SSG to slow down. They tried to bring the Amaru to go quickly. It hasn't worked. It might hurt them in the long game.
I was really excited for a while knowing after what we've seen from Doki and Benja across this week so far, really bullying some teams in the entry. I think back to Koi on day one, for example, really giving them a hard time. And here, although you've seen the 1-for-1 come through, Benja has still kind of stepped into the shoes that Doki's dropped there by finding himself taken out with the kill coming through shortly before, and is able to get himself that assist off the back of it as well. So overall, looking really good between those two as a little bit of co-play. Liking what I'm seeing there. Half the round is gone, and SSG still looking to work their way through the building.
Going to have Alamau just retreating back to VIP. Half health has gone. Rampy's going to be chasing him down with the IQ. But as I say, quite a reasonable amount of time wasted. Alamau is still out there to do it. Looks like he's going to get a little bit of support here, potentially. Virtue looking to push out a site. We've still got Hot and Cold working down into the mid-floor, which at 1:15 is quite late in the round.
It is. They have the spearhead of the Monty to play behind, but it's just the amount of control they've actually got to make use of that Monty. I can think of so many games historically on this map, thinking back to the old school G2 versus Na'Vi, back when Pengu was still a player. Some really good time being wasted on this map with the Monty just by drawing them out around the map, admittedly using a clash, but time really did hurt G2 in those attacking rounds when they tried to run the shields. Hot and Cold looking to go for a drop here straight inside of Freezer, just making sure there's no one down there before he goes for this play. The one thing he's got kind of on his side, I think, is the fact that the Freezer is completely closed off here. There's no threat from VIP, but he's onto a Legion. Gumine has got to get that out of his foot here, so we'll step to one side and hopefully not get pushed in the same beat. 30 seconds still to play, and it doesn't feel like SSG have too much control.
Not yet, but I do like that Hotton's managed to get himself in Freezer. You can see now it's a little bit of a beachhead, more coming in behind him. Virtue going to be taking some damage, going to be shut down by Yeti ultimately. Alamau above could be a big problem though. He's looking to deny that plant. He's got the option to drop that Freezer hatch as well. Benja is going to get the trade onto Rampy, leaving us 2v1. It's all down to Hot and Cold. He ain't going to make it happen with the shield, and that's going to be Blur picking up that final kill. It was good from G2, but it was a nice effort from SSG as well. You know, I like the aggression from them. 45 seconds, dropping into Freezer. The reason that I think they did that is, if you notice, Freezer was double reinforced. Quite often, we'll actually see Freezer left soft or just with one half reinforced, and some of the wall opened up because it prevents exactly that drop. You had Alamo in VIP, and he sort of came out into bottom white stairs, and there was nothing he could really do about the fact that Hot and Cold was in Freezer. He had to go back upstairs and try to use the hatch. It worked out, but it's just something that SSG recognised and thought, here's an opportunity, we're going to step into it. And that's something I think they need as a team. That's what they need to be showing us to avoid those last 20-second executes. But it didn't work out for them. G2 get it locked down. It was their primary site choice, but a good start to what hopefully is going to be a good game.
So that Alamo was able to slip the net really and have an impact there towards the back end, removing that vertical cover that could have made it a little bit more difficult for G2 to hold on. But SSG really focusing on the Freezer as their only point of execute, coming back to bite them. Let's see how things go up on the top floor. An interesting mirror window going down here for this upstairs hold. You will normally see at least one facing in towards Piano so that you have the ability to challenge. You will be able to get a little side angle if you stand on the right-hand side of that mirror and look across towards the cigar door, but they're not going to have much information on the actual windows really inside of Piano itself. The second mirror is set a little bit further back, so yeah, Piano looks a little bit scary to step inside of right now unless you're on the stage itself and keeping really close to that south wall. But G2 going for a bit of an extended hold. I do like this though, Tim, because they've got this kind of ability to play around Cigar early on, waste a bit of time, fall back to their mirror windows, waste even more time. Really just trying to draw SSG out into these rounds to see the clock run down low. Yeah,
that absolutely looks to be the theory from G2. You know, make it basically defend right up to the borders of the building, if you will.
Tim.
Go.
We get to hear Fabian's tactical timeouts today.
It could be a thing of wonder.
Oh, it will be a thing of wonder.
I'm looking forward to that already.
I really wish I poked him before and said, please say something utterly ridiculous. But we'll find out. Sorry, I had to interrupt you there.
No, it's quite all right. I was just agreeing with your point, you know, that basically, yes, G2 are looking to play right up to the borders. They don't want to let SSG in the map. The longer they can delay them getting in the map, the more they delay the round, the more they force SSG into those final 20-second executes that have been a bit of a struggle for them at times. So, yeah, I like it. You know, like you said, that aggression into Cigar, Piano. There's nobody from SSG looking to push that side yet. It's all Skylight and East Side at the minute.
Still nice and slow. This is the one thing we commented on again for them versus SSG. They find Benja, and that's a good one. I know when you've got two players as well on G2, again, in the form of Doki and Benja that you want to be dealing with, it's good to take it a little bit slower and look for them early on before they stab you in the back when you actually start pulling off your execute. So with that entry coming in, it's far from the end of the world. There's no Ying on side, of course, but there are the smokes of the Capitale, which suddenly just became a hell of a lot more potent. Vaults appear on the East Rappel, waiting for someone to be sat in behind this mirror window, but as of yet, not finding anyone.
5 versus 4, 1 minute 10 left to go. We know that top floor is generally a bit of a 50-50 site. I complain about it at length at any opportunity that I'm given because it's not always one of the most successful sites, but a big nitro from Doki there, going to take down Rampy. Blur gets in on the action at the same time, and we've got a bit of a swinging man count here as Virtue manages to find Bosco walking through the middle of the site, likely to be found by Yeti, I think, though he knows exactly where he is, but Yeti just having to dip away from that fight. I think a little bit concerned about what's going on behind him. Virtue has the opportunity to drop the hatch, get out of dodge, and he's going to come back to fight another day.
Hasn't got a C4 on side, but can, as you say, rotate his way back through. A good idea from SSG, but no one challenging Virtue earlier on meant that he was uncontested inside of Cigar and got the cross kill inside of sight. 2v2.
There's no diffuser in hand for SSG. They're going to have to go and find the kills here. Yeti does manage to find Doki, and we've got Blur left all alone in Freezer. He can't run away, Des. He's in a position where he cannot move. He's going to get one, but now they know exactly where he is. He just has to win the gunfight. Somehow manages to get into barback storage, but he's had to flip to the pistol. This is not ideal, but somehow Blur steps around with an unbelievable tap along the bar, and that's going to be a great round for G2. They were clinging on with fingertips there.
5-0 in the game as well for Blur. I know he's had his fair share of complaints this week saying, look, clearly he's just not cut up to be with the rest of this team. He's not playing well. But when you can make plays like that,
right,
you're definitely making a pretty fair shout for yourself. Winning out of 1 versus 2 on half HP.
Whoa, like 5 HP max.
If that was Hot and Cold that he killed on the other side and it was Yeti he was against, he'd be dead there. The Mark 14 probably would have finished him off.
Beautiful.
Woo! Keeping things nice and tight. I love it. 2-0 to G2 on the defensive side. Now they go down, well, not downstairs, onto the middle floor into Reading and Fireplace around number 3.
I like from SSG that they're not leaving it to the late round. We are seeing them like they've obviously recognised that issue. They're taking the initiative. We had Bosco in the middle of site walking through, Yeti pushing under New Hatch. They are trying to get things done in a more timely fashion. They're going in aggressively, and we like to see that. Hopefully it's going to pay some dividends for them, and they can get themselves a couple of rounds and make a real match of this one. And now going to Reading, I think this is actually a really good rotation from G2. As I said, I'm not a big fan of top floor, and we see the defenders kind of struggle to hold on to it a lot of the time. I think it's just one of those default sites that everybody just, you played top floor first. But, for yourselves at home, think about it. When you're going into your ranked games, maybe don't play top floor first. Maybe pick up a kitchen, maybe a reading room, as we've got G2 now. So I feel like they've come to a strong location for their third site. Doki, he's looking keen today, but he's not going to find anything on the peak.
Are they ready? Are they ready? Oh, Yeti was ready, but couldn't find his man. Equally, neither could Doki. A little bit of a chip on the shoulder for Yeti. And away he will walk with 75 HP still intact, expecting a repeak, and I really wouldn't blame him all that much, knowing what Doki's like. He could be a little bit cheeky. So Yeti's the one out here watching onto those windows, whilst the rest of the team have got themselves up on the roof inside about 40 seconds and are looking to step their way forwards.
Just got Rampy on the rappel. He's very aware of a potential run out there, I think, from the bottom of red stairs. Very cautious, but Alamai's dropped himself down into what looks like court check for the time being. He's going to head back up the stairs, so there is the possibility. Obviously, the Valkyrie cams don't work outside anymore. It's been a little while now, but just it's worth a little reminder for anybody who's coming back to us. If they're thrown outside, they will lose the signal after, I think it's about 5 seconds or so, 5 or 10 seconds. So, this used to be a nightmare on a map like Cafe. You could put 2 cams outside, you could see every external wall, and anybody on the rappel was never safe, really. So not really the case anymore. Alamai not going to be able to use that information to support any jump out or anything. Virtue is going to be roaming around, conscious of train, but SSG are still fighting over the top floor at the minute, Des.
It's what they need to be, right? You need that vertical control. Got the sledge on side to smash that floor to pieces, but it does mean fighting them away, which so far inside a minute and 45 they've been unable to do. G2 just putting up hurdle after hurdle, each one successfully getting higher for SSG to work through. They are getting there and have now worked their way inside a storage after getting up the bathroom, getting the bathroom wall opened up. But they're not 100% sure if there are still players up here. There is one. Doki supported somewhat by Blur.
Doki going to just push himself back down to site. G2 controlling things quite well here, I think. They're not over-committing. They know that they're down to 45 seconds. They're playing that time-wasting game, allowing SSG to sort of chase shadows a little bit, but SSG do now have the top floor control and can start working that verticality. Talk about verticality, though. It's going to be the other way. Benja with a beautiful nitro up onto Bosco. Doki's going to pick up the man coming down red almost certainly. Does find Yeti. Takes the opportunity to potentially push himself back up as well onto the flank. Blur with a shotgun onto Fultz, and it's all going wrong at the minute, but Houghton somehow has got in, and he's getting the diffuser down. G2 have got absolutely no idea. There goes, and he manages to find a kill, and no, it's Rampy that's going to pick it up. Blur with the kill onto the planter. It's all up to Rampy, and he will be shut down. But SSG with a little sneak attack. It was close, but you just feel that they were clutching at straws a little bit.
G2 are not at all nervous about that plant going down either. I'm not at all trying to say this just because I'm a Evo caster, but genuinely what happened was we had SSG getting in above. They opened up all the flooring, so G2 said, well, we're not sitting on site. I always use Coastline as a really good example for this on kitchen and service. Attackers get top floor control, open everything up, and defenders tend to move off site, and you look to play for the retake. So what they've done there is said, okay, the floor's open, we're not playing on site, let's step off it, let's rotate up stairway, let's see what we can do to try and contest up red, for example, contest up white. It was a good idea. Plat goes down and they go from there.
Probably before we do that top down.
Yeah, I heard it.
Other than that, we're doing fine. Like both those
They're
first 2
pressuring
rounds.
flanks heavy. As soon as we set up and get ready for execute, they're pushing 3 on the flank.
Yeah, we should honestly just keep a guy there on gun. Can't rely on drones.
We're dialed on that.
On where?
On the flank. Keep someone active on the flank.
Yeah, there was just two little people alive.
Yeah, that round, yeah.
My dad watching on a flank.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what we did. They just killed us.
Yeah, they just fucking double pushed me.
It's all good. This round, do you think if they're okay? So if they're baked, do you think we do what we did to that one team where we hopped upside down white stair rappel, cut them off when they're roaming up top? I mean, they'll probably just drop pillars,
I think
but
we can do that. We'll have Getty tree door, so I think that's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get.
Well, they're not on bait, Rampy, so that's not going to work out for you, unfortunately. But they said they're exactly what I was just saying.
Yeah.
I completely forgot, didn't realize we were in a tactical break, so sorry if you guys wanted to listen at home for the first 20 seconds there. But what we were saying there was G2 again just run off site. They go up the stairs, they went up both red and white and look to retake on the above, and they said exactly the same. They're sending 3 guys off for the retake at the top floor and then using that against them. SSG have got to get better on the flank, and part of me was thinking through my head, the whole thing was screaming, bring a Nomad, more Claymores, whatever it is you've got to do, bring something to stop them getting on the flanks. Even if it slows them down for a short amount of time, it might give you that extra 3 or 4 seconds on site to get the plant down and get out of dodge before the bullets start flying.
The E1G might help with that. Fultz bringing along the Lion, just freezes people in place for a couple of seconds as that goes off, otherwise they get pinged out. The problem, or my concern for SSG there is, yep, they're recognising the problem on the flanks, but when you recognise a problem like the flank and you say, right, let's start putting guns on there, let's start watching them better, that slows you down because everybody's not working towards that goal of getting onto site. So, you know, the people who are have then got more tasks, they've got more to do because somebody's sat on the flank watch, and SSG have been actually moving at quite a good pace so far, but being punished because of it. So it's going to lead to them slowing down again, which isn't necessarily the end of the world, let's be honest. They're 3-0 down, what they've done so far hasn't worked. They do need to stop G2 hitting them like that, but they need to keep that clock in mind as well.
Absolutely. Well, that first quarter timeout makes total sense in terms of timing. See if SSG can pick up at least a couple of rounds here, because not forgetting what they were talking about on desk and what the stats do show is that this is G2's worst map. It's their least preferred. They've had the least successful results on it. They've played it the least. They've banned it the most. In all areas, it is not a map that they should be having a lot of success on. So SSG picking to go here are going to be nervous going into Villa if things carry on the way that they are. Virtue looking to meet them in around bathroom. And again, reminding you the same as last round, the G2 are defending on the second floor. They're just really looking to burn through their time here, but they're going a little bit sneaky beaky like it looked like for a second. They're going to try and drop straight to the hatch, Tim, and just hit the site.
This is going to be a hot dropping straight in, and I like, oh, Bosco going to be shut down. Blur is there, ready and waiting. Doki gets one. Benja's in on the action as well. Yeti doing everything he can to keep SSG in the fight, but it's now a 1 versus 3 effectively with Blur down in sight. Unlikely that he's going to be picked up. He's in a real danger zone with Yeti up above, but the Habana has really got her work cut out right now. Yeti going to work her way over to the white stairs. Really does need to change up the angle of attack. Can't be coming from that hatch. That's where G2 are going to be particularly watching. Maybe an opportunity to get Blur picked up here as well. We'll see if they take it now, knowing that Yeti is at the top of white stairs. They certainly do.
It was a really good attempt from SSG, and I won't fault them for that. You know, just because an idea,
you got to take a chance.
Just because an idea doesn't work out, it doesn't mean it wasn't a good idea. It just means that in that particular case, you've been slapped on the way through. And they happen to have a couple of players, one on site, one off towards mining. It was good defensive positions being shown by G2. Maybe expecting a play like that to come out, and they have the response.
Well, the thing is, they had everything they need to understand that it was happening. They had Blur downstairs in dining. They had Virtue up in washroom. So Virtue in washroom, you know he hears that sledge hit every day of the week. He hears the sledge hit onto. He probably already knows that there's multiple people inside a piano because he can hear them moving around. And then as soon as he hears the sledge hit on the hatch, he's calling that out to Blur, saying, look, they're dropping hatch, they're dropping hatch. So Blur just comes around pre-firing, and it was, again, just really nice comms from G2. I'm not sure if SSG had drawn the site or not. It'd be interesting to know, you know, were they aware of Blur in that position or not. Bosco was guns up, he was looking for a fight there, but ultimately Blur was just able to pre-fire, and you're always going to lose in that situation almost, or at least almost all of the time. So G2 4-0 on Cafe, and running away with this one at the minute, it's got to be said.
Absolutely. Just realised I bought Fresh a coffee before we came on broadcast, and then didn't tell him I got him a coffee. So the whole time this game has been going on, since he's come off desk, there's been a coffee just sat there going cold. I feel quite bad, actually. Because, like...
it's the thought that counts, Des.
Yeah, because let's break the fourth wall a little bit. Like, let's not actually. Let's break the window and see what Doki can find. They must know. Because Doki's been at the window every single round. He's having a good go. Rambi gets taken down by Alimal, though. And again, just G2 are just bullying them in the early rounds here. They've had a good response most of the time. You look back at Yeti losing about a third of his HP in previous rounds, but no one really going down. Finally, G2 are rewarded. And they're getting really annoying with these spawn peaks, Tim.
It must be very frustrating for SSG at the minute. You know, there are maybe things that they could change, but ultimately, you know, they're giving a number of different ideas a try. You know, there's just nothing's working for them at the minute. G2 just seem to be a step ahead, and that's got to be very difficult to play against. Is that the coffee that you didn't leave?
That's the coffee that I didn't leave, the one that I brought with me. There's a whole reason for the madness, genuinely, though. Like, I brought the coffees in, and obviously Fresh was on desk, and I was like, well, I can't tell him, so I'll message him on WhatsApp. And then we got chatting, and I forgot. And this happens a lot in my life, Tim. I get chatting, I get distracted, things get forgotten. I'm sorry.
Fultz is working down White stairs. Drone is going to be quite close ahead of him. Like to see again the aggression, hot and cold. Just the one going to be droning him in, trying to feed that information. Sees some traces across the bottom
open
of the
this
stairs.
time.
It is. I think maybe lesson learnt there that if you close it off, they're going to send a shield in. Yeti's going to pick up Blur, but it's going to suffer to a run out from Alamai. And G2 just feel like they're in that confident position. And again, it must be very frustrating for SSG. You know, they get something.
Kill line up there.
They get something right. They get the man inside a VIP taken out from window, and then what do they suffer to? Alamai running out. It's just got to be difficult to play again.
Benjamin is that rank player. When you're holding an angle and some guy steps in front of you and you're like, what are you doing? Get out!
And then he goes and kills everybody and you've just got to live with it.
That, or he dies and you're just like, you're an idiot, man. Like, I hate you. But no, Benja is alive. Alamau is alive. Benja's the one playing behind the shield. He's got a C4 in back pocket. He's in a good spot here to do some damage. SSG, it feels, once again, are kind of stalling out at least a little bit here in these final 60 seconds. They're going to try again for the hatch drop, it seems, with also a push coming in down White. Follow the diffuser, and you can see that's the one that is currently upstairs with Bosco.
Like I said, it feels to me like a good example of what I was saying, that G2 feel like they're a little bit of a step ahead. You know, SSG didn't do anything massively wrong there. From the window, they get the man taken out of VIP, Blur goes down. Great, you can start your freezer-sided push. Alamai runs out, and Ben just steps up into VIP. G2 have just reacted and responded very well, and are now making it difficult for them to come into sight. It's as easy as that from behind the shield. Alamai gets another, even though he's on low health, he's going to be...
I love that.
He's not even going to be taken out, he's going to get a third, and, you know, what a round from G2. Like I say, it's no matter what SSG do or whatever they try, G2 just seem to be that step ahead and taking the, you know, the movement ahead of them.
It's just really good aggressive play. Yep. And the thing is, it's not being done by one or two players anymore. I mentioned before that, you know, okay, well, I think we've got a timeout here, maybe a technical timeout coming in, by the fact that there's a tech pause coming in, so we'll wait until that is resolved. But I think one thing worth noticing is, again, the aggression coming out of G2 as a team. It's not just Oki, not just Benja early round and then dropping away. They have 3 or 4 players there floating around VIP, around bar and restaurant area, all looking to contest. Alamau, you're a noisy little bugger. Shut the hell up. I'll listen in for a second.
I think that might be our other game.
That's the hour of the game. I doubt anyone's screaming, let's effing go.
I don't think G2 is still that hyped.
It's Koi going noisy. All quiet in the SSG camp.
Good spirits in the G2. The thing is, you know, to come back to that play, I think it just, like you say, it just shows, you know, that it was a great reaction from G2 because the man goes down in VIP, SSG could then move in and take that territory, but no, there was an immediate reaction there. It wasn't a thought process, it wasn't having to fight back into that position. Benja sets off, Alamau out of the door. You know, it was just really, really clean from G2.
I know it's a long shot at the minute for G2, but imagine if we saw Fabian lift the hammer as a coach as well as a player.
I said this earlier, you know, he's come back. It's great to see him back in a G2 jersey behind, you know, stood this time as a coach, but there's just something, you know, it's Fabian at SI in a G2 jersey. You know, I remember the first SI that we cast back in 2020. And Fabian was obviously there as a player at that point, and you know, it was one of them. It was one of them things. You know, I'd been prior to that point watching SIs as a fan. I'd been here in Montreal as a fan in 2019 when G2 beat Empire in the final, and you know, so I'd had those moments. And then to me, like Fabian was walking past. Don't tell him I said that, but you know, Fabian walks past. He's in the G2. It's like, you know, I've made it to SI. You know, it's like one of those moments. You know, so now to be back at another one 3 years later, and to, you know, to see Fabian back as well, it's a nice sight.
And obviously we spent most of last year working with him as well before he joined G2 when he was on the UL talent team. Like, I know the image that he gives off publicly is really jokey, a little bit of a dick, I get it, but he's actually a really thoughtful guy.
Fabian is very nice.
He's a really nice, caring guy. He wants, like, he would always be the one stressing, you know, we should go for a meal together, we should do things together, we're a team. Yep. And I have no doubt he's carried that into this G2 lineup as well, and it's showing, I think, over the last few days. Let's ignore yesterday, because even he was really angry at how the team had played that game out. He was very honest about his feelings. Think of that what you will. But outside of that, G2 have played incredibly well, and we're seeing it here in this fixture too.
Here we go then, round 6.
You know what I did think looking at the technical timeout as well? Really interesting that they've got Virtue, who's generally pretty quiet, sat between Alamau and Doki, because they know those two next to each other would just be a bundle.
Is it like splitting kids up in class?
I think it actually is. No,
splitting the jokers up, they can't sit together,
it's
like, be a nightmare.
It's a tactical masterclass coming out of the team here to agree that's the way things should be done. Then the other end, you've got Blur and Benja, who are really quite saying that. Benja's getting pretty loud. He's starting to have a lot of fun and find himself a little bit on the timeline. I'm sure it'll spill over to in the server at some point. Doki finding another entry here. Rampy the one to fall down. SSG are just not having a fun time in these rounds.
They're not at all. They're on for a 6-0 half here, and you know, they've certainly not stepped into a fantastic start. It is top floor that they're attacking. Again, moving reasonably quickly. You know, we can't criticise SSG's pace necessarily. 1 minute 20 into the round, they've got themselves established in Cigar. Wall is open through to Piano, and they can start taking some map control. But G2 right now just feels so confident in the setup, and they've still got this mirror window to deal with. Alamau's getting super aggressive. Look at this. He wants his peak. He knows that there's somebody out on the window. Mirror windows do not feel like they were made for Alamau, because he's going to see something and want to go and kill it. That's the problem.
That is Alamau to a T. I mean, just looking down the scoreboard on the right-hand side of your screen, right? 7-2, 5-1, 8-1, 5-4. I know Virtue's having a quiet game. That's not a problem when your team are flying this much. And on the other side, really, it's only Rampy and Yeti that are making themselves seen and heard. SSG are just so quiet.
30 seconds left to go, and SSG look like they're on
Another
a rotate here. You know, they've gone out of the windows. They've decided Piano's not for them, and I don't criticise them for that choice. I think, you know, if something's not working out, the angle that you're pushing it from, yes, you do need to change things up. But at 30 seconds left in the round, that is going to be a big ask. Bosco goes inside a Piano, which could be an absolute death trap at the minute, and he's got Diffuser in hand. Benja's going to push forward and find him, and that drops it down cold. 10 seconds left to go. This is very unlikely now for SSG, as it's 4 versus 1. Yeti's underneath. This round is done, Des, and whilst, like I say, I don't criticise SSG for that, it was very clear that they got to a point where they thought, we're out of ideas here. We cannot get into Piano. We can't disrupt this defence from G2, so we're going to have to switch it up. But when you're completely rotating at 30 seconds to go, I think, you know that the round is pretty much done, short of a miracle.
No, completely agree. And one thing worth stressing again that we said at the start of this match is G2 only have to win one map. The 1 point they'll be guaranteed from that will put them out of reaching distance for SSG. Right now, G2 are on 8 points, SSG are on 4. So SSG had to win 4-0. They would then win the head-to-head and take 3rd spot away from G2. So G2 are 1 round short, assuming, of course, we don't see all 6 rounds won here by SSG and then overtime becomes a thing. But they are 1 round short of locking in their place in 3rd place in the upper bracket here at SI23. Not a line that I would have said to you probably 4 months ago and agreed, yeah, they're going to be able to do that.
Honestly, I've been pretty...
Turnaround has been mega.
Overall, I've been pretty impressed with G2 so far.
You know what it is as well? I think, like, and I said this back on day one, I don't even want to put all the blame on one person, but, you know, Citizen leaving, back when he was on the team, he was the lurker. He's the guy who played pretty solo. He would find him in 1v3s or 1v4s all the time. He's playing way better now. He's on Sonics as well. Having a really good performance.
I was just going to say, it's not even always about blame.
No,
it's just about things
It's the synergy.
Working. Just being, like, it's just things working. You know, and if that's
I mean, to give an example, like, Fluke is an incredible caster, and I always say she's one of the best players we've got in the world, but I know that I cast better with you because we just kind of like, you know, there's a click there, right?
This is it. And
it doesn't say anything bad about her. She's incredible. But
you know, if things weren't quite working, you know, with you know, that play style in that team, and like you say, Citizen having a fantastic time over at Sonics, and Sonics looks absolutely electric.
Except for against Eminem.
I think
it was a very good game, I'm joking.
It was a very good game. I'm not taking anything away from Eminem, but you know, when teams have already qualified, we speak about this at length. Obviously, you know, there's other factors that come into play about thinking ahead and preparing for playoffs and things like that. I
just thought, Fabian did his joke tweet earlier about, oh, I'll be over in an hour, 2 7-0s, easy, done, and it's getting on that way.
It's looking like we might see that retweeted a little bit later on.
I mean, very maybe. Doki into yet another entry. That's 5 rounds in a row that SSG have lost the entry. They got the first 2, but outside of that have found nothing. And interestingly as well, Tim, every member except Virtue on G2 has had an entry so far in this game.
I'm interested for the point where G2 inevitably come up against Sonics.
Imagine that matchup. It's a thing, actually. It could be a thing.
It's going. I mean, it sort of feels inevitable, doesn't it? The kills are raining in here. Let's focus back on G2 versus SSG. Alamau's going to take down Yeti. That's the Cali brought along.
Honestly, they're just bullying them.
They really are. That's
Flanks everything, destroying them.
7-0 does. I think to be fair, we've been waiting for a 7-0 to come in for Desina.
We've had a lot of fast games.
We've had a lot of long games, so you know it gives our voices a little bit of a break to get a 7-0 rather than was it 38 maps last night and then 43 the night before that. You know, it gives us a little bit of a break, but a great.